Good evening. My name is Vince Noblet, President of the Speedway Town Council. Today is December 12th, 2022. It's 7:01. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. First off, everybody rise and take off your hats. I don't think we've seen anybody wearing hats. And the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes. These minutes have been submitted to the council. If there's no changes or corrections, this is for the November 14th, 2022 meeting, they'll be approved as submitted. Hearing no changes or corrections, they're approved. Next item on the agenda is boards and commission appointments. At this point in time, I'd like to open up those appointments to the council. We'll start with the Cable Commission. I'd like to, if anyone would like to submit names for the Cable Commission.
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Bill Stinnett.
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Mike Urick.
Okay.
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Tony Rice.
Okay.
And Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Jerry Hinchman.
Mr. President, I move motions be closed, or motions, I'm with it tonight. Nominations be
Nominations be closed?
Second.
Yeah, I got a motion and a second. I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote on those names submitted to the council tonight. All those in favor of approval of Mike Urick, Bill Stinnett, Tony Rice, and Jerry Hinchman, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr.
All those
President, I believe that leaves
One
open seat.
Okay. And we'll move on. Next item would be the Community Development Corporation. Do we have any?
Mr. President, I would nominate Greg Mall and move that we close the nominations because we have one open seat.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. There was only one position open on the Community Development Corporation, and Greg Mall. I'm going to call for a vote on Greg. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next nomination would be on the Transportation Board.
Mr. President, I move that we approve Joe O'Neill, or nominate Joe O'Neill.
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Bev Catterhenry, and move that nominations be closed.
Okay.
Second.
Got a nomination and a second. So I'd like to go ahead and call for a vote on Joe O'Neill and Bev Catterhenry. All those in favor of those, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, we'll move on to Redevelopment Authority.
Mr. President, I nominate Jared Allen.
Mr. President, I nominate Greg Mall.
Mr. President, I make motion nominations be closed.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. I'm going to call for a vote on their approval on Jared Allen and Greg Mall. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next item would be the solid waste management.
Mr. President, I nominate Michelle Leidy.
Okay, and there's only one spot
Because there's one
available.
spot open, I would make a motion that we close the nominations on solid waste management.
I actually believe we have two on that,
I
correct?
beg your pardon.
Grant, is that true? We have two on that need filled?
I believe that there was just one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a motion to close?
I I did make a motion to close, yes.
I second.
Second it? Okay. Okay, I'll go ahead and let's vote on Michelle Lighty for the solid waste management. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next board is the library board, and we got nominations for that.
I'll nominate Bernie Sinkowski and move that we close the nominations because we have just the one board position open.
Second.
Okay, I got a nomination and a second. And we'll go ahead and call for a vote on Bernie. Please signify by saying aye. Aye. Next item is the Police Commission.
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Phil Smith to the Police Commission.
I move we close the nominations for Police Commission.
Second.
Okay, we got motion and a second. I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote for Phil Smith for the Police Commission. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next item is the school board. We have any nominations for the school board?
And Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Luke Bickle for the school board.
Mr. President, we have a second position open, but we're actually speaking with several people that have put in for the second position that's open. Maybe yield to our attorney on, do we close the nominations here, or do we, and then bring them back open in a later meeting?
Correct.
Okay. Then I'll move that we close the nominations on that first position for the school board.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. So all those in favor of Luke Bickle on the school board position, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, and the last board for tonight is Board of Zoning Appeal. Do I have a nomination for that board?
Mr. President, I move that we nominate Curtis Miller to the Board of Zoning.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we close nominations.
Okay,
Second.
got a motion and a second. Go ahead and call for a vote for Curtis Miller on the Board of Zoning Appeals. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay,
So just a
Yeah.
note, David, actually, there is an opening on that solid waste. We had another name slated, but that person is already serving and their term wasn't up. I think there was just a little bit of confusion there, so.
Okay.
So at this point, we still have Arts Advisory with one open position, Cable with one open, Redevelopment Commission, all 5, School Board with an opening, and then Solid Waste with
Fire.
one opening.
We have one on fire merit as well.
Yes.
Okay, and that one's not on the list, yes.
yep. Okay,
So Mr. President,
Yeah.
just if I could
Go
make
ahead.
if anyone watching or listening is interested, please submit your name, and we obviously have several positions left open.
yeah. Grant, can you go ahead and update those positions so those individuals know what's available
Yep.
out there? And we can go from there.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on. Next item is Resolution 2022-14, a resolution regarding the additional appropriation of additional funds. Jacob, Town Clerk Treasurer.
Yep, thank you. So these are essentially amendments to our 2022 budget. And just to note, there is a public hearing for this, so it has been advertised and publicly noticed as required. I'll go through the different lines as briefly as I can, and then we happy to take any questions. The first additional appropriation is for the fire department for the overtime budget under personal services. They've had some injuries this year, which has led to higher than expected overtime, so this is to supplement that. And I should say all these amounts are, I may be way on the high side. We can put up a higher number and go lower. We can't do the opposite. So I'm putting in something, and we don't really have enough time to do the public notice process to do this again. So I'm just being really conservative and making sure we have plenty of room in these numbers. Next item up is capital outlays under the town manager budget. This is related to Resolution 2022-11, where a commitment of $150,000 was made to the B&O Trail project. We'll need an additional $75,000 for that budget to go ahead and make that payment. Next item is to local road and street capital outlays. There's two components to this. One is for a front loader that the street department purchased. We had budgeted to finance that, and so only an amount to make an estimated lease payment on that front loader was appropriated in the budget. As we were doing it and rates had kind of gone up, we realized, we have the cash to go ahead and do this and just pay for it. So that decision was made earlier in the year, but now we need to do the additional appropriation to fund that purchase. And this also appropriates some community crossing funds. We haven't necessarily always done in the past, appropriating grant funds. This is something that State Board of Accounts is kind of viewing as a good best practice to do. So I'm kind of doing that as part of the other additional appropriations. So about 152 is related to to front loader. The remainder is for the community crossing grant funds. Small one, but it's on here for the Parks Department. It's a $4,000 additional appropriation to the supplies. They had budgeted gas a little bit tighter, and there just isn't enough room in that, or a lot of wiggle room in that major category item. So this is to help. Obviously, we had much higher than expected gas prices, especially over the summer. So this helps shore that up. And then last is capital outlays for the Parks Department. This is all grant funds. This is a $250,000 additional appropriation. Again, those are grant funds that the Parks Department has received, and they've been working through their different projects for the capital improvement plan. So it's a total of $654,000. The majority of that, $400,000, represents grant funds, and getting those into the budget so that we can spend those funds and keep those fund balances in the positive for the end of the year. Happy to take any questions. Like I said, we also do need to do a public hearing for this.
Sure. Okay, it is 7:13. I'm going to go ahead and open a public hearing in relationship to Resolution 2022-14. Those interested in speaking to this, please step forward. Okay. Seeing that nobody is stepping forward at this point in time, I'm going to go ahead, 8:14 and a half, 18. 7:14, yeah. I already moved it up to like an hour. 7:14 and a half. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Jacob, before we vote, you have anything else that you want to inform?
We need to make a motion.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-14 tonight.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. So I'll open up any questions for Jacob.
It's not really as much as a question as much as just a statement. This has happened in other years. You budget the best you can, and then you have things that come up during the year. This year, fuel's a huge number, but actually fuel costs estimated earlier in the year, this time last year for this year, it weren't so bad, but there's some other things we just couldn't anticipate. So just for the public's perspective, this is not unprecedented. It happens pretty much every year.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor of Resolution 2022-14, resolution regarding the additional appropriations of additional funds, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next up is a Resolution 2022-15, a resolution of the Town Council of Speedway approving the transfer of use of police vehicles to MSD Washington Township Schools Police Department. Grant?
Yes, thank you. So the three vehicles on this resolution are well used. 2012 Dodge Charger has 89,000 miles. It has a value of 10,000, and we will be getting that for that transfer. A 2016 Dodge Charger, value of 12,000 with 103,000, almost 104, and then a 2016 Dodge Charger with 101,000, we'll be getting 12,000. So this resolution declares those as surplus and authorizes us to execute all the documents to make that sale to the Washington Township Schools Police Department.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve resolution number 2022-15 as explained to us by the town manager.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Open up for discussions. Any questions on this?
There is a fourth vehicle. I'm sorry, I didn't turn the page over. I apologize. We are also trading in a 2016 Dodge Charger, 114,000, and getting 12,000 for it. Grand total of 46,000 for those four vehicles.
Maybe more of a question for Chief, if you don't mind, Chief. Are there other vehicles that we'll be selling as well?
Inevitably, there will be. We're still waiting on the 10 vehicles that we ordered for 2023, and that keeps getting pushed back. So we're going to hang on to the other vehicles just in case we have to utilize those if other vehicles go down. So, but inevitably, we'll be trading other vehicles or selling those off. So,
Thank you.
What is your up-to-date ETA?
If I had
The
one.
latest.
They have pushed us back to, I think, right at this point, mid-year. So, so we're hoping probably early summer. So
And when did we order those?
we ordered those in March of last year.
I thought.
So, yes,
Better start thinking about 2024
I
already.
know. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
A question for Jacob. The monies we received, what fund does that go back to?
That'll go back to the general fund.
Is there a way that could go back for the vehicles we've purchased or for cars?
Yeah, and that's where we're paying for the new vehicles from.
Okay.
General fund.
You may not know the answer to this, but are these on a par with what we expected when we were looking to purchase new and knowing we'd be selling existing? Are these close or a little above?
In terms of the
values.
what we're getting, I think those are higher than expected. I'll look at Chief here, but yeah.
It's great. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I'm going to call for a vote on Resolution 2022-15. Approve, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is ordinance 1369. It's the approval of an ordinance establishing jobs and salaries to be paid to certain officials, officers, and positions and jobs within the town of Speedway for year 2023, Jacob?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I'm thinking.
It's listed wrong on the.
Yeah, it says, and repealing all ordinances or part of, therefore, in conflict therewith. Grant, can you tell us?
Yes, so there just a couple of points with the salary ordinance. The police officers and firefighters longevity scale has been included in the narrative of the ordinance. Did I miss a question? I apologize. I was reading that. Okay, so it's included in the narrative of the ordinance there on the second page at the top. There's also a new paragraph that addresses the PERF contribution for civilian employees and firefighters as agreed to by the council as a part of compensation. Then the ordinance has an amendment, amended Exhibit A, incorporates various changes, elimination of some positions that have been eliminated from the town, as well as changes to other positions. The police union contract, which is on your agenda this evening for approval, has been included in this as well. The fire also has been included pending a final vote and approval. We have come to terms with them. It's a matter of working through that agreement and arrangement. I'll answer any other questions that you might have about individual or specific salaries or ranges.
Mr. President, I move that we approve ordinance 1369 as presented.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Is there any other specific questions for Grant concerning
I
this?
think it's a question for Jacob. To be transparent for the public in this, can you explain the perf contribution and what changes we're making to that and how we feel that's going to benefit the employees?
Sure. A lot of communities and the state contribute a portion of what Public Employee Retirement Fund calls the mandatory contribution. For civilian employees, that's 3%. For public safety employees, that's 6%. So the town is going to be contributing that portion, that 3%, rather than that being on the employee. There can be some tax benefits to that because with PERF, it's paid on an after-tax basis, whereas we are paying it and we don't pay taxes. So employers have to pay that eventually, but it kind of defers that tax responsibility.
So it means it's more money in their pocket,
It does, yep.
plus the additional percent of salary they're getting as well.
Correct.
Also, I think we're going to approve this evening. Obviously, we don't know until we vote, but I think if you look at all communities, counties, towns, cities, in the labor market in general, there's a significant challenge in finding labor. Police and fire in particular are extremely challenged in some ways, police especially. So this just makes us more competitive. Every little thing that we do makes us more competitive to recruit and keep quality people. So.
One other point I'd like to make, and I've made it since I've been on this council, council is not receiving the raise, which we've not since I've been on the council.
It's probably 30 years since council's contemplated a raise.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's admirable. Yeah, we go. Okay, is there any other questions concerning ordinance 1369? Carrying on, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of ordinance 1369 approval, establishing jobs and salaries to be paid, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is approval of an agreement between the town of Speedway and the fraternal owner of police, Lodge 86, representing officers of the Speedway Police Department, effective January 1st, 2023 through December 31st of 2024. Should be 2023.
2024. Yeah, it's a 2-year.
Two-year contract. And Grant, can you
Yes.
give us an update on that?
So as you know, we did negotiate with the police union and came to agreement on pay and benefits. As mentioned, this is a 2-year agreement, so we will not be sitting down again, and the agreement refers to starting those negotiations in June of 2024 to be complete by the end of the year before that contract expires. Some of the highlights, I've highlighted these here on my copy on page 6. And this is a change since Chief Upchurch has taken the office in March or April, trying to remember when it was. The work schedule has been changed for the operations division. That will be a 12-hour work schedule now. They currently do 8s. So there's a pretty clear description of what that means for those employees. We believe this will lead to greater efficiency, and other departments do this, and this has been in some ways a deterrent to lateral transfers, because we've been told often, once you go 12-hour shifts, you won't go back. So officers, that's been a concern or an issue over the past year or two. The salary increases, longevity pay on Section 7, effective January 1 of 03, that new longevity scale will be implemented. 0.5% of the current first-class patrol officer's yearly salary per year through 20 years, with longevity after 20 being $100 per year. The vacation days in the next section is changed to hours versus days as it used to be. So you work a 12-hour shift. To take that entire shift off, it takes 12 hours, which is a day and a half of vacation or other leave time. No other changes until we get to officer wages on page 10. On page 10, we have agreed to a 4% pay increase in 2023, followed by a 3% pay increase in 2024. Those values are represented in that table and have been approved by the union. There are no other substantive changes, and we recommend approval of this agreement.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agreement between the town of Speedway and the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge Number 86, as explained to us by our town manager.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a motion and a second. I want to open it up to discussion. Are there any questions for Grant specifically pertaining to this agreement? Hearing none.
No questions.
Question?
I would just make the public aware that the way the council has traditionally done this and followed suit again this year, a couple of councilors will, so we're not meeting in a majority, we're meeting them, a couple of councilors meet with police as well as the town manager to work out the new agreement. Same thing happens with fire. Gary and I worked with police and Grant to accomplish that, and I think David and Vince worked with fire, and we're very close, as Grant outlined there. Just want to make sure the public's aware of how that kind of comes together, and the discussions, I want to point out, were very good. There was a lot of, it's not just pay, it's just these hours. There was something that the fire department, or excuse me, the police department really wanted. The majority of them really wanted it, and they said it from the beginning because everyone else that's on that seems to really care for it and operate well. And if that helps us to recruit, that's even better. So that's it.
Yeah, I know from the fireman standpoint, and I'm sure David will second it, I think it brings to light the professional individuals that are working in the police and fire department, the way that they carry themselves, and they're concerned about the town of Speedway, making sure that they do the right thing, and and that I would say that they're a staff with very dedicated individuals that really look out for the public safety of the town of Speedway. I don't know if you want to add anything, Dave?
You said it very well.
Yeah.
Agree.
Any other questions? There's not, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote on the agreement between the town of Speedway and the Fraternal Order of Police. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
And I will abstain.
And you're going to abstain. Okay. Motion carries 4-1. Okay. Next is AES Fleet Line Program. Jacob?
Yeah, this is a free study program that's being offered by AES to help us look at whether or not it makes sense to pursue electrification of some of our vehicles. So this would open up some tools and advisory services for us to, like I said, explore that. Looking at electric vehicles, not just from a environmentally positive perspective, but does it make economic sense? Can we save in terms of cost of fuel, the maintenance and ongoing costs of owning traditional gas vehicles? Looking primarily at some of our light trucks and whether that's an option. Doesn't obligate us to do anything. It's just, like I said, a free service. There were a couple of changes that Bob had suggested. AES agreed to those, and so I'd appreciate your approval.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. President, I'll make that motion that we approve the AES, Fleet Line Program Participation Agreement, as explained to us by our clerk treasurer.
Second that.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. We'll go ahead and open up for discussion. So how many vehicles are you talking about, Jacob?
We're going to look at, I mean, between our trucks at the street department, I mean, there's probably about a dozen vehicles that could potentially be used or could be considered for electrification.
Okay. Are these take-home trucks or?
I mean, some of them might be, so we're going to have to look at, does that make sense? Does it not? You know, would there be enough charge while they're at work? I don't think we would look at putting charging stations at an employee's house or anything like that.
Sounds good. Any other questions for Jacob? What kind of savings are they talking about?
We're not
Well, I
sure.
mean,
That's
traditionally.
the tradition for the. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
How soon would this begin?
I'm working with Eder Lopez in our office to kind of, we've started going through the data and looking at some analysis, and we've already started doing that. I think their timeline, they'd kind of like to get information back from us by the end of next month of January, and then we should get a study and kind of have some closure on it in April or May.
Sweet.
Okay. Okay, well, there's no further questions for Jacob. I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote for AES Fleet Line Program Participation Agreement. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, next up is Resolution 2022-16, Town Council of the Town of Speedway, Indiana, awarding build, operate, transfer transaction, and taking certain other related actions. Grant?
So Jacob is actually going to handle this item. Look how excited he is.
Okay.
Surprise.
Is that a pass?
No, it's not
Is
a
that
surprise.
lateral?
Oh, it's
Just an error on the agenda.
Okay.
So this is for a build, operate, transfer agreement for a project at the water plant that we've been looking at and pursuing. There's actually two components to this project. One is a large garage facility that would sit down at the water plant. We currently don't have anything other than a small shed for some lawnmowers, so all of our trucks, vehicles, all the equipment sits out, so this gets that under cover. And then it also includes a structure over the raw water intake valve, so that's where, when we're running the surface water treatment plant, the water comes in off of Eagle Creek. The goal is to, again, protect the equipment and pumps and everything that's in there, but also warm that area up a little bit, so hopefully we can operate our surface treatment plant a little bit further into the winter months and then start it up again earlier in the spring or even in late winter. This is a significant project for us. It's part of the capital improvement plan that was assembled with water and sewer superintendents as well as Westland Engineering that we finalized last year. This BOT contract is for $1,431,069. It is a BOT structure. One nice feature of that is that it sets the price in, so that's where we're at. It's not a change order structure unless we would change something in the project. It also allows us to work with the developer, the team constructing the facilities. When we looked at the original estimate from where we're at, we were over $2 million and kind of looking at ways to adjust and modify, making reasonable accommodations with what we can do, what we can live without, that kind of thing. We've been able to get it down to like I said, the 1.43 million number. Tonight we have a couple of people with us, Kurt Weininger from Westler Engineering, and then Mike Galt with Hagerman Group that will be actually doing the construction. I think they can help answer any questions or can come up and speak, but we might want to go ahead and do a public hearing. That way if there's any questions raised, they can speak to those.
Sure. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open a public hearing. It's 7:35 at this time, and if anybody from the audience would like to speak in relationship to this. Do we we want to go ahead and have Kurt, I don't know if you want to speak in relationship to the project.
Close the
Yeah.
hearing.
So I'll go ahead and, 7:36, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and let Kurt explain a little bit more about the building.
Thank you. Kurt Woniger, Wessler Engineering. Thank you for the opportunity this evening. As Jacob mentioned, these two facilities, these two structures provide a lot of opportunities for the water department and provide opportunities in regards to the surface intake, as Jacob mentioned, to run that facility a lot longer. As what was presented in the asset management plan, the city water department needs to run the surface water treatment plant more on a regular basis and into the winter months more to allow the groundwater aquifer to recharge. So this will provide that opportunity and also extend the life of the equipment that's currently exposed to the elements and to the freezing in the winter times that causes issues. In regards to the about 6,800 square foot garage storage facility, again, as Jacob mentioned, a lot of the equipment stored outside, exposed to the elements as well as to theft or vandalism. And this will provide that opportunity to get that equipment inside and keep it warm as well when they need it during the winter months. We're right around the corner here, main breaks and things like that, and the equipment freezes and they need to unthaw it. So this will provide that opportunity to be more proactive and reactive to the conditions and things like that for the community.
Absolutely. This is a tough time of year for especially the water plant in terms of all the main breaks out there and also keeping their equipment in top condition, from that standpoint. You have any other questions or concerns? Consider the BOT project.
I'll say, I think it's important this is the same type of plan that we used for this building here, correct?
Correct.
And it saved us, the council, the taxpayers, quite a bit of money, and this is going to do that same thing. And I think it's a great step. Stuff's not the word. I guess it is stuff at a water plant,
Yeah.
but it's work that has to be done, that needs to be done. And I think it's a great option that the council's used for this building, and we're going to use it for the water plant, and looking forward to the work being done. I know the employees are going to appreciate it, and it's going to hopefully save a lot of our equipment as well. So
Absolutely.
I would add that this building is in the plan that Wessler helped develop. It's part of our plan, part of the rate adjustment that was made this year accounts for this and other significant improvements that go way beyond this building.
Maybe we could have the builder step up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just looking forward to getting going. Probably go into basically turning guys loose on shop drawings to go through there and get the permitting process going this week. Look to go through there and file for the permit probably into the month. That's a 6 to 8 week process, and then probably get going on the project sometime in March. Is kind of the timeline we're looking at right now. Do you have any other questions or any other?
So, we're going to be storing a lot of large equipment in there, from that standpoint. What's the height of that? Do you know?
It's 16.6 I think is what we finished. I think that was basically the last value engineering look that we took a look at there. So I think you shouldn't have any trouble with like a backhoe or anything like that.
Yeah. So is it heated?
It will be heated.
It will be heated. So we got power running out there and everything.
Insulated, heated. You'll have water. We'll have some drains. So if the guys go through there and need to wash something up, you'll get the water out of the building. It'll be a nice facility.
Great.
starting in March, ending, what's your?
Probably a 4-month construction schedule overall. So we're probably looking in that June timeframe.
Good.
Sounds good. If you can get concrete, right?
Yeah, we should be able to. Knock on wood.
All right. Any
Will you
other
also-
questions? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, will you also be constructing the cover for the
Yes,
intake?
we will.
Will that commence about the same time, or?
It will. Yeah, we'll use. It won't use the same forces, but we'll use it'll be going about the same time.
Okay. And what's the ETA on completion for that?
About June, that
Oh,
June
little-
timeframe. Yeah,
okay.
that's what we're looking at
right.
right now. If we can get going a little bit earlier through the permit process, that's kind of the constraint right now. So we were kind of waiting for a final approval, and then we're going to get rolling as soon as you guys got contracts ready to go. So
Are you working out at Founders Square too?
at Fountain Square?
Yeah, Founders.
Founders Square. I am not. No, personally, I'm not for Hagerman, but
'Cause I think they have a project going on there with the senior living and that later on.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
That's not my ball. So I don't know. But I'm at St. V right now, is where they've got me stationed.
Keeping you busy.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for it. I look forward to seeing the building go up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Do we get a motion?
yeah.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2022-16 as we just talked about.
Yeah,
I will second.
okay, got a motion and a second. There's no further questions, so I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is Resolution 2022-17, a resolution reaffirming Resolution 2014-23, establishing a sister city relationship with Verano and establishing an advisory board. Grant?
Yeah, so my comments would be this was put together in 2014. We are reaffirming that relationship with Verano in Italy, and the council with this resolution in Section 2 is adopting or establishing a Verano advisory board to be made up of 5 members, 3 appointed by the council, 2 appointed by the school board. Their job in being appointed to that board is to assist in that process, oversee finances of the program, and the council is directing them to submit quarterly reports to the town council of receipts and expenditures, and then an annual report so that it's clear where those dollars are going and what is happening. The advisory board will also work with the schools to identify and screen candidates for that, those exchanges. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you might have. I know once this is adopted, I will get the signed copy, email it to our contacts in Verano. They are going to also adopt a similar resolution from their standpoint. So while they won't be involved in our advisory board, they want to reaffirm that relationship. So
Sure. I'll go and ask for a motion then.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we accept resolution number 2022-17 as explained to us by our town manager.
Second.
Okay, I get a motion and a second. Is there any additional questions for Grant?
No questions, just a comment that no tax monies go to this program. It's monies raised in the community for both students that are engaged in this relationship and those the traveling to Italy, and as well as those students that in Italy that come back here. No tax monies, no general fund dollars, that type of thing are going to this. It's monies raised by the group in the community.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and, if there's no other comments in relationship to it, or questions, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of Resolution 2022-17, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion carries 5-0. Next is ordinance 1368, ordinance to add a chapter to Title 5 of the Speedway Municipal Code concerning short-term rental. And this is the second reading. Grant?
yes, thank you, Mr. President. So I will say, and I provided you a copy of the email that we received yesterday afternoon at 4:30. We did receive an email from Carolyn Brown. That will be probably, I guess, attached to the minutes of some kind, or, but she expressed some concerns and issues, and I know that the council was copied on that. So what is this ordinance? So this ordinance is an attempt by the town to get a handle on what properties in our town are being used as short-term rentals, whether they're VRBO or any of the other number of places or platforms. We have had some issues over the past year and a half, 2 years. We've dealt with those issues. I think it's time for the town to put some conditions on that and try to attempt to regulate that. The state does allow the town to do certain things, create these types of ordinances, establish a one-time fee. This is a one-time fee of $150. The permit renews, I believe it's annually, Bob, correct?
Correct.
But the fee doesn't renew, so you pay the $150 and just have to continue maintaining that permit. The town can deny a permit based on infractions of our ordinances, our town ordinance, for whatever, unruly, disorderly conduct, issues with parking, upkeep or maintenance of property, those types of issues that might be had, noise complaints, which we've had a couple of. It's not like we've got 100 of those, but we do have those from time to time. There are some salient points in the ordinance. I know we talked about it a lot last time. If there's any questions from the council, I think I've hit the highlights, trying to help everyone understand what the ordinance is about. We have talked about one of the follow-ups to this ordinance would be a maximum occupancy ordinance. I know we're working on that, trying to make sure that we review other ordinances, other communities' ordinances, and replicate those within the bounds of the law. This is not an attempt by the town to chase these types of operations out. It's simply to know where they are, keep a contact, maintain a contact, so that if there are issues, we can contact them and let them know. There are some also conditions in here where it says the owner of the property, before renting it, has to have some things displayed regarding occupancy and other things. And those things are pretty clearly listed here in this ordinance. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you might have of me at this time.
I'll go ahead and call for a motion.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 1368 on second reading.
I have a second.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. So I want to open it up for discussion. Does anybody have any questions with Bob or Grant in relationship to this ordinance? I think I like Bob. You know, you've been involved in the creation of this ordinance, and you know what ordinances are out there across at other towns and cities. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, it's, so the Indiana legislature a few years ago allowed municipalities to begin regulating these because some had problems. Again, as I mentioned at the last meeting, the vast majority of people that participate in these rental platforms do a wonderful job. We've probably all stayed at VRBOs or Airbnbs, and it's a delightful experience. However, anytime they're widely used, you have a couple that end up causing problems. And the town has experienced some problems from a couple of them, and there really wasn't any way to regulate them previously. The legislature adopted Indiana Code 361-24, which allows municipalities to adopt an ordinance to regulate these. And the regulations basically state that they have to register with the municipality. They have to provide contact information, so if there is a problem that they can be on site within 3 hours with a key. You have to update that periodically, which makes perfect sense, and I'm sure most do that anyway. As Grant mentioned, they have to post within the home contact information if there's problems, if the power goes out or whatever, and also post a maximum occupancy. Additionally, and perhaps the most pertinent part in terms of an enforcement, the legislation allows the permit to be revoked if they violate law or ordinances. And specifically, the ones that probably would come up the most might be a noise ordinance or a parking ordinance or trash, litter, that type of thing. And if they violate that ordinance 3 times within a calendar year, the clerk treasurer, I'm sorry, not the clerk, sorry, I didn't mean to pin that on you, Jacob. The town manager has the ability to withdraw or revoke their permit. So those are essentially the high-level points. This ordinance, as most other ordinances that have been adopted in other municipalities, almost tracks word for word the legislation that was adopted by the state. So.
Okay. Well, at this time, I'd like to open up to those individuals that would like to come in front of us and speak. If they have an opportunity, please feel free to step to the microphone. Just state your name and address.
Yes. My name is Amala Sijaric, S-I-J-A-R-I-C. So I am a co-host and a friend of Ms. Carolyn Brown. So I think she maybe spoke to Mr. Noblet.
Yes.
About me coming in to speak for her.
Yes.
She's visiting her parents in Florida, so she couldn't be here. So I'm a super host myself, and she's super host, and I'm her co-host, meaning when she's unable to do something, I cover for her and all that stuff. Carolyn is, maybe because she's the biggest perfectionist I met, and she's an attorney, and I myself also, she's worried that this has been a little bit rushed, because of little things that could come up that later could create bigger problems. For example, if the ordinance is in effect as of January 1st, and it takes up to 5 days for you to get a permit, but you have guests who have already booked from, I don't know, December 31st to January 2nd, she would have already be violating the rule, the ordinance, because she'd be hosting guests January 1st and 2nd, yet she's still waiting for her permit that takes 5 days. Things like that. If a violation like that would, obviously that violation can happen once a year because you apply once a year, but if violations like that occur 3 times, what happens is the person loses their permit, and when you lose your permit, if you run that solely as a business, if you don't live at that house, you're probably going to sell that house. You're going to put it on market because now you have a year of no income. She has 2 Airbnbs. One is full-time Airbnb, and the second one is also her primary residence. So she obviously pays double tax on the rental, homestead exemption tax on her personal residence. If this were to happen, she would have to sell the other house, the one that she's renting full-time. If that happens to a large number of hosts, if they all dump their houses on the market, that would reduce the value of real estate properties in the community. It just has to if it happens on a large scale. So just like that example I just mentioned about waiting for your permit and violating, if several things like that happen, inadvertently, it could cause a negative effect on the real estate. So she's not against the permit, being that she's one of those perfect people who police are never called there, everything's fixed, everything's perfect. The issue is that she just wants some time where we could make a little committee where we just fine-tune this, the rules. For example, who issues the document, how long does it take, can you reapply before the previous license expires? For example, if she were to have her own family's party at her house, could somebody call in a violation thinking that that night it's rented as a short-term rental and say, hey, this exceeds the occupancy limits, when in fact it's her personal family? Little things like that. I think what she would like to have is just a little bit more time so that people can get together, people that are interested. I talked to a few members here that also have rentals, and they agree with us. I don't know if they'll speak, maybe not. But they agree with her, and they would support her. She'd be happy to be a member of that committee to just fine-tune this. That's all she's asking for. She's not disagreeing. But would the committee give her more time for her to create this little group of people?
Okay.
That's all we're asking for.
I think we can address some of your questions now, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Sure.
grant I'm sure there's going to be a grace period.
Yeah, we would, it doesn't become effective until January. We've never instituted a fee and had it due immediately. We haven't set that grace period, but we've got to contact people. We have to send information out. My guess is that could take, a month, if not longer. This will be administered through the clerk treasurer's office, through the permit division, I would assume. And those are things that we are not trying to chase people out. We're simply trying to put the structure together so that we have the ability to manage this. And as they said, it's probably not 99% of those folks who rent property in the town, but we all know that there's rules that have to be made to govern that 1%.
And I'm sorry, your next question
The second.
about renewing the permit?
Correct.
Okay, I'm sure that can begin in December, and then we'll give you a whole month. I mean, that's.
The way we do it with rental property, because there's a landlord license, we typically send out, I think it's several months in advance. I don't know what, we send that out saying that is coming up. Typically, we send out even a second letter. We are not trying to, so my guess is this will be a permit that will do a similar thing to. We're also not going to find all the rental properties in town. We don't know all of them. We know some, we know some that are on the records, but we need to find how to contact all those so that they are compliant with the ordinance.
Right. And you mentioned that those number of those homes that would be rentals for Airbnb or VRBO changes during race time and event times, so that normally we have, very few, but then again, it goes up higher, especially when events are taking place within town and community. Bob, you have anything to add?
No, I would envision that just like every other permit, and there are quite a few of them, the town has, that they're administered through the clerk treasurer's office, and he's got a very robust and knowledgeable staff to assist him in that. And like Grant said, with other permits for renewal, send out notification a couple months ahead of time, so there's plenty of time to renew them.
If I may, what happens with the hosts that are not unaware of this meeting and this ordinance? They will inadvertently violate.
We'll inform them, and we're not going to force them in violation if they weren't aware of it. We've got to take some time to get people aware of this. It's like any ordinance that we do. We might change an ordinance that changes speed limit. We'll have a grace period for that on a street for 30 to 60 days as new signs are posted, and then we'll start enforcing that. This is no different than any ordinance that we adopt as a town. We're not unreasonable people. We try to make sure our residents and businesses know what the rules are and then try to make sure they're following those, because once again, we're trying to regulate that.
We're also going to supply a copy of the ordinance to those platforms that we're aware of.
Yes.
VRBOs and Airbnb. We'll send them copies of it so that they know that if there's a home that wants to enroll on that platform and they're located within the town of Speedway, this ordinance is going to apply to them.
And if I made the issue that I mentioned earlier, if you're an Airbnb host and now you happen to be having a birthday for your own family and somebody complains about you and they're assuming that you're hosting guests, now you get a violation, now you're entangled in an unnecessary mess. If you multiply that by whatever number of hosts,
those ordinances apply the same equally to an Airbnb as they would to a resident. So if a resident is violating the noise ordinance, even if they don't have an Airbnb, it's just a resident of the town of Speedway, and they're violating an ordinance, they could be, certainly receive a complaint for that. And these are the exact same ordinances that all the other town residents have to comply with.
Okay, so you're saying the personal residence occupancy limits are the same as short-term occupancy limits will be? Are you saying it's the same number of people?
Yes.
And that's a state law, right, Bob?
State law.
And it's based on a square footage calculation.
Absolutely.
Now, does that mean you can't have 30 people in your backyard? I don't believe so.
No.
I think we
Those
all
30
have had that.
Those
Yeah.
30 people can't maybe stay overnight
But
in
the-
a three-bedroom home.
Yeah, the occupancy is based upon an overnight stay, which is
Yeah.
again pursuant to the fire code.
If that backyard rule's in effect, we're in trouble in May.
Right,
I'll
right.
say that.
Everybody is.
How will we locate these hosts? How will we find out who has a short-term rental?
We're going to have to publicize this, and that's why it's going to be a process. There's not a repository where I go and can find out where these properties are.
To be the simple answer for that is you go to Airbnb or you go to VRBO and see who's renting their house. And that's, you know. and-
In-town limits or.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, somebody may be renting this week, but not next week. And you may be looking at a week where my house is closed, not up for a rental. You won't see me, or a month. You'd
Right,
have
but
to-
if,
search
correct
the
me if
whole
I'm
yard.
wrong, if you're renting your house as a VRBO or an Airbnb, you're going to be required to have a permit, whether you
Yes.
do it for a week or you do it for a year.
That's correct. And-
Yes.
And just like every other ordinance, it'll be published, it'll be recorded, and there's a duty on everybody to be aware of what the laws and ordinances are where they live.
Mr. Lindsay, I'm saying exactly that. You said whether you're running for 1 week or a whole year, required to have a permit. I understand that, but what I'm saying is I don't know how you will find this person who is renting for a week or a year.
Well, and that's the thing. There may be some people that we don't find.
Well, I think you raised some good questions. I
Yeah.
appreciate the fact you've come forward for yourself on behalf of your friend, and you obviously share management responsibilities with them. I think, we have a pretty robust rental program, a renter identification system in play already. We have a number of homes in our community that are already rentals, and we have a system in place for knowing where those are, who actually owns those, and a similar type program, maybe not quite as detailed and I'm struggling for the right words, but it seems to me, and we haven't discussed this, I think it's really up to our staff to manage this well and continue to come back to us and talk about where it's working well, what we've learned from the program. Anything new is going to take some adjustment, no doubt about it, and that's the grace period that Grant described. But certainly, I think we ought to be contacting those persons that own rental properties that are traditional rentals. I have a friend in town, rents 4 homes, lives in town part of the year, not the other part of the year. He's a fantastic host, not a super host sometimes, because they're
hard.
not in those programs.
It's hard.
But is a good host, but we don't have issues with that person's properties. My point is, but we know who that person is because they rent their home for the most part for 12 to 18 months. But I think contacting all of those folks to be able to say to them, hey, we've implemented this program. We want you to be aware of it. If you're renting your home in this way, these are some of the guidelines you're going to have to follow if you do.
And I'm not disagreeing with any of this. I'm just saying, obviously, there are some issues because we're having a discussion about it. I think we just need time to make this a little bit more specific and clear so that there's not a lot of unnecessary or unbased violations and issues. For example, when you say you can look up on Airbnb or VRBO and see who's renting, it doesn't show you the address or the name of the person. You can't do that. Because I could have a house, you can't even do it by the outside look of a house. Some people post just indoors. So I can post my living room, bedroom, kitchen, and it shows general area. You don't know which house that is. You don't know what it looks like on the outside. It doesn't have my name and it doesn't have my address. So all I'm saying is this is going to be a little bit more complicated than just doing it as fast.
Yeah, I think you're right. It will be complex. I think it will also take us time to understand who's actually doing this, who's not. Some folks will maybe decide not to do it, not to rent that way. Obviously, the market conditions changing a little bit will determine some of that, whether they're shorter, longer-term rental. When I've looked for short-term rentals for friends that come to visit for the race or for other college graduations or whatever, and they're saying, hey, where should I stay? And they send me something. There are people that claim to have short-term rentals in Speedway, and they're 3 miles away. And that says a lot about our community, people wanting to be close and be recognized as being in Speedway. That's a good thing. But, so we'll have to be aware of who's in our town limits and who's not.
Yeah.
And it'll be a process in getting there. I don't know if, I'm looking through to see if there's a specific date. Is it effective January 1st, or is it effective?
It says, Bob,
It says, yeah, it's effective January 1st, but you can obviously change that. You can determine if you.
And I'd like to say, I don't feel that you're going to be an issue, and I don't think the people here that care enough to come to our meeting
Right.
are going to be an issue. It's going to be the people that don't know about it, that rent to the 20 to 30 people to have the loud parties. That's what we're trying to solve the problem on, because I've got calls from my neighbors and other residents of town that have issues with this. That you're here, that shows that you care about this, and other people care about this. I don't think we're going to have it's going to be where you apply for your permit, you rent to the correct people and the right people that care about the place that they stay. This is about the people that just rent for the money, that get the parties that come in and just cause craziness, which is what we're trying.
And usually, I have a feeling that these locations will appear when the bus pulls up in front and you have 20 people roll out. And that's where we'll have to have one of our code enforcement officer or a police officer respond. And so that's when he'll start asking questions in relationship. Okay, is this personal resident, or is this, because we'll have violations at that point in time. So, and I have a feeling that, just like David was saying, those individuals that, that really do care about their property, they take that extra mile to make sure that it's not going to be abused, and that the residents and everybody gets along, fine. Because I have several on my street close to my house, and there is no problem with most of them. But, if there will be a bus that shows up and we'll have 20 kids from a location, for an overnight stay, and I know there's only a 3-bedroom house.
Yeah.
And so it's a public safety issue when you have that many kids sleeping down on mattresses in the basement.
Or not sleep.
Yeah, right. At
Which
that
might be
point in time.
worse.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
It has been worse. I think that's the other reality is we've had specific issues of people in Indianapolis renting on the pretense that they're going to be a small group of 3 people or that type of thing, and 30 people show up. And a bigger issue is that 30 more show up and actually want to have a brawl, want to have some event.
Oh, no.
As David pointed out, I don't think there's anybody in this room, and most people, whether it's 98 or 99%, whatever that number is, nobody wants that. Nobody, when they see that happen, they deal with it immediately. They'll probably call our police department to help solve the problem. But those are the things we're trying to prevent that are occurring.
Would the council consider giving more time so she can meet with a few members of a little committee, just to give some suggestions how to avoid?
I think it would be a good idea that you meet with other members, of Airbnbs and have a group that can help self-police per se. But I don't think there's no need to delay this in relationship to that. I think we'll move on, but then you can meet and then come up if we need to make changes or modifications. Absolutely, bring it to us. And I feel that you should meet with the code enforcement person, or you can bring that group in and meet with Grant, and we can sit down at that point in time and move forward.
I think it's easier to start the whole process with more specificity and clarity than to rush it and then have to correct stuff.
Well, if this was not being used by other communities for a long period of time, I would agree, but
And
this is...
if I could, this tracks state statute, and so if you've got issues with that, the forum is the state legislators that drafted it.
Well, obviously, I can't
Not
do anything with that.
Excuse me, not to be derogatory, but we all know when committees get formed, what that leads to. And you all have received calls for quite a period of time from distressed and disgruntled neighbors to properties that are violating. And so I first drafted this 8 or 9 months ago.
Right.
And it's been through a lot of revisions. We've talked a lot about what state statute permits and what other communities are doing. If there are issues down the road that you want to change, it's very easy to amend the ordinance.
Yep.
We've done that before. So I would recommend moving forward.
Sure.
And then if they want to form their own committee and offer suggestions, and you're so inclined, we can look at them.
I want to give other people an opportunity to speak.
Anybody else there?
Yep.
Thank you.
I hate getting up and speaking.
Just state your name.
Hi, my name's Dave Dans. I have an Airbnb in Speedway. I also have one in Claremont.
You live in
And I
Speedway?
never have any trouble with them. I've done really well. And by the way, I am supportive of permitting. I think that's a good thing because I also live, and whoever's next door to me, I like knowing that there's some kind of repercussions if they violate things.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, traditionally, anyone that comes to the podium, we ask them, you state your name, just what's your address, so if we need to reach out to you, please.
My home address or the Airbnb address?
Yes.
Okay. My Airbnb address is 1123 North Lyndhurst. My home address is 4354 North County Road, 1025 East in it's Indianapolis, Claremont, Hendricks County, that little slice there.
Sure.
Couple things. I do think it's going to be exceedingly difficult to catch the bad actors. That won't be us in this room.
Right.
I think the bad actors, they pop up. They're dandelions. They pop up at race time. They pop up when there's an event. I don't know if you're aware of how low the threshold is to post your house on one of these platforms. I mean, it's really no more than uploading a few pictures, your bank account so they know how to pay you, and in 15 minutes you're in business. And then Monday, when your party's over, you're out of business. And I think it's going to be almost impossible for you to see who they are. I have looked, and I'm sure some of my colleagues here have looked, sometimes for competitive reasons. You're trying to find out how many people you compete with. You can't find them. You can't go on to Airbnb or VRBO and find them. You can only find the ones that are available on the dates that you search.
Right.
My concern is that we're going to be now competing with a lot of these dandelion type of operators that pop up, and they kind of give us a bad name. They're the ones that I think you probably have more trouble with. I don't know how you're going to do that. I don't know how you're going to find them. I am curious, for those that violate this ordinance, what is someone's incentive? These people that are going to run kind of on the ragged edge, what is going to be their incentive to follow this ordinance? How severe is the punishment for them?
Well, any one of our ordinance violations, you can receive a ticket for whatever it might be, whether it's parking all over the street or trash or, and those fines range anywhere from $100 to $500, depending on what the situation is. And they can still get fines like that. It's not just this ordinance. So
The owner is the one that's responsible for these violations, for violating this particular ordinance, in addition to, say, if they're violating a noise ordinance also, they can be fined $500 under this, and that's the owner that pays it. So it may take a little bit of time to catch them, but once you catch them and they start getting $500 fines, I would think that would get their attention rather quickly.
Okay, so my question is, if you're tipped off somehow that someone is on Airbnb and operating illegally, they're not permitted, the fine is $500?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
it can be up to $500.
Up to
right?
$500, but yeah.
Okay.
And additionally,
I
of
like to hear
course,
that.
And additionally, of course, if the police are called on several occasions and they get violations for noise ordinance and they find out it's Airbnb or whatever, and they're not registered, then they can also get a fine for that. So those would get the owner's attention rather quickly, I would think.
Will there be a mechanism for those of us who are operating legally to report when we know of illegal operators?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. One more question. I'll probably never have a violation. I really manage mine really well, as do these folks back here. And 3 violations in a year is hard for me to even fathom. But if I were to get a violation, somebody comes in and, I don't know, they get inebriated, whatever, and they're in the front yard and there's a problem and I find out about it and I get a violation. Is it an automatic violation if one of my guests misbehaves? Is that an automatic violation on me? Police come out, okay? Is that a violation?
I think if the police issue a citation, that would be considered a violation.
That's the officer's discretion.
And we do respond to issues where it's like, turn the music down, or it's 11 o'clock. We don't issue a ticket at the drop of a hat.
Okay.
But there may be instances where they don't turn it down and we come back an hour later. We're probably going to issue a citation at that point.
I'm okay with that. Is that citation on me or on the guest who got drunk and threw up in the front yard?
Well, it's the...
Both.
Yeah.
Say again.
Both. Under the ordinance, it's the violator is obviously given a ticket, but under the ordinance, the owner's responsible.
I have issue with that.
The owner's responsible for a violation of the ordinance, maybe not the actual payment of the ordinance itself, but if there is trouble, whatever it may be, a party or whatever, and it's at your rental, then you are held responsible for the conduct there.
So if a hotel operator has a guest who commits some kind of, I don't know, they get loud and the police get called, you're telling me the hotel gets fined?
I'm saying that, I'm not saying that they get fined for his behavior if, say it's a public intoxication or whatever the case may be. He is individually responsible for that, but that is a strike one, for lack of a better term, under the ordinance.
Understand.
Yes, for the owner.
I think you're thinking you're financially responsible for that ticket. You're not.
No.
Well, that is kind of where I'm going with that.
Yes.
Because, I first of all, have an investment in these houses, and I screen my people pretty well.
No, because whoever commits that violation, who's renting from you, that person, that renter, their name will be on that citation.
Okay, so the citation goes to them.
Correct.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean
No,
to
that's
interrupt.
fine.
Citation goes to them, I get strike one.
Yes.
Okay. Is there an appeal process to that?
Yes.
Is there an opportunity for me to meet with somebody and go, look, this is what I
Yes.
did?
The town
Is that
manager.
in the ordinance?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, upon revocation, there's an appeal process to the town council.
So what would happen is I'd get a notice that something happened at my house that I'm, at that point, may even be unaware of. I'll get some kind of notice and have an opportunity to meet with somebody in the town and have a discussion. Okay?
I will say this, we also have what's called a disorderly housing ordinance, and we have used that from time to time just for normal renters or apartments, or just depends on what kind of issues we have had.
Sure.
But the town has to have that right to clean that type of activity up. That's why their ordinances exist, and we're not trying to cause issue, we're trying to simply solve those kinds of problems that we have experienced.
I'm on your side.
Yeah.
I am in total agreement with that. I'm just trying to understand that when you rent a property, I don't care whether it's a rental, a hotel, an Airbnb, or just off the record, you can only exert so much control or care. Again, I've had almost no trouble ever. I think I had one complaint in Claremont over the last 5 years. Somebody complained and I took care of it. So I just wanted to make sure I understood the process. Okay. And that's really all I had.
I do want to clarify, Chief, if I'm incorrect in saying this, please tell me I am, but just because the police come out does not mean it's going to be an automatic citation.
Yeah.
I think our police department uses very good discretion. Just because they come out to a loud party doesn't mean they're going to be cited. They're probably going to be given a warning. If it continues to be a problem, I think that's when a citation would would be issued. So if there's a call, that doesn't mean automatically our police department's going to cite them for that violation.
Okay. I am not at all afraid of this ordinance. I don't think I'm going to have any issue, but I wanted those clarifications, and I appreciate your time.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Just state your name and your address, please.
My name is Edward Holleran. My address is 2220 Fisher Avenue. Members of the council, thank you for your time tonight. It's the first time I've addressed you. My wife Tara and I live in Speedway. We also own an Airbnb Speedway, and we're very proud of that. I'm an attorney and a partner at Quarles and Brady downtown. She's a pediatrician at Riley Hospital and professor of medicine. I would hope that you guys will want to encourage folks like us. We chose to live here, and we choose to live here, and I hope that you would encourage that. Mr. Clutter, with all due respect, I'm very concerned as a lawyer, and if you're not at least feeling some constitutional issues with this in due process mode, then I don't think this has been thought through. We have serious problems with the enforcement of citations and the lack of an appellate right. You mentioned, and very clearly mentioned, that the appellate right comes at revocation. That's a problem. The appellate right, sir, should come at the instance of citation. And there needs to be a method in which a citation, being subjective or objective, and we need defined, clear criteria as to what a violation will be, okay? Because why you guys have gotten these calls, okay? There is a national movement against short-term rentals, okay? That's why you're getting the phone calls. For whatever reason, one bad apple spoils the bunch. And that's just like everything else we have in life, okay? We are going to get calls now. When this comes out, the mindset of the punitive person that does not like STRs is going to start calling thinking, I've got to get 3 strikes on them. We have to have a mode which we can appeal on objective criteria that this was not a violation, this was a pissed off landowner that doesn't like STRs. That has to be in this. And if it's not, we've got constitutional problems running amok. And it's going to cost the town a lot of money, and I will tell you, I will spearhead that on my dime. Okay? So I just want to be clear, because the gentleman and the lady before, I think that Tara and I, we just found out about this yesterday. I don't know how I missed this, but we're for it. Okay? We don't want STRs to have a bad name anywhere, because there is this national tide that's moving toward smearing them. Okay, we've seen the photographs of trash, we've seen the parking, we've seen the parties, things like that. We don't want that any more than you do. I can speak for probably everybody here, and as you said, everybody here cares, okay? And we don't have a problem. I think the fine is I think the registration fee is reasonable. I think the continuity of it is reasonable. And I would love to see positive, objective rules and enforcement in this town for that. But what we are going to have, I firmly believe, is we are going to have the neighbors in the community that do not want STRs. And they are going to call and call with the objective of getting the 3 strikes rules. We must have means to appeal on objective criteria that we did not violate a code. Now, an interesting caveat came up, one that I did not consider until the lady before me spoke. Tara and I, too, use our Airbnb for family get-togethers. It has a pool. It's an awesome property. We have a lot of dogs on our property. It's better to have family parties at our house, okay? Now, we get along really well with our neighbors. I believe some of our neighbors aren't happy that we have an STR. Given the specific street and community that which we have one on, it's very tight, it's very controlled, but we have an awesome STR. I would encourage you to look up Pagoda West on Airbnb and see the reviews on our property and see what we bring to Speedway, what we bring to Main Street businesses. We've got codes, we've got discounts, we've got all kinds of encouragements, and what we're bringing to Speedway is very positive. So if the town is going to start taking a punitive view, you need to hear from people that are doing different things. Okay, I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit, but constitutionally, sir, I have serious problems with the subjectivity of the citation and the lack of an appellate right on every single citation. And it needs to be a due process maneuver for that appellate, for that appeal. We cannot have a revocation of our license and then get to appeal when we haven't had a chance. Files get lost, memories get lost, people don't care. The other problem I have is with the 3 strikes rule is that, yes, it says 3 strikes in 1 calendar year, okay? Is the town going to consider previous strikes in previous years? I think that in human nature would say that they would. Meaning that if we had a house that had 2 strikes in a year, okay, it gets by, calendar year renews, then we have 3 strikes. Well, you were here before, Holleran. You know, that's a problem because we've got, no, there needs to be that the criteria are not properly defined to pass constitutional muster here. And that's a problem. And I don't want the problem for my town because I don't want the legal fees that are going to be associated with defending this. And as you're right, it is a legislative issue, but as far as I check, sir, it's not been challenged in case law yet. There's not been formal challenge of this. And there probably needs to be. There probably needs to be case law clarifying government intrusion with private property because it is an issue. I don't know that it relatively is going to get to a strict scrutiny level, but there is a lot of case law out there that has a lot of problems with government intrusion into private property.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. I would really, really appreciate if the council would consider taking some time on this. Again, no disrespect, Mr. Clutter, but I learned about this today. I'm a vested member of the community interested in this, and my head is spinning with problems that our town may face because of this. I've got, along the same lines, I have a real problem with what is missing with this whole enforcement issue is that, yes, all of us are subject to the ordinances, right? But the homeowner that's not renting the house, they just get a citation, okay? The STR business owner gets a citation, they lose their ticket to ride, okay? That's a problem. And that's a problem that's unequally enforced against an STR owner versus a homeowner that gets a problem for a loud party. Okay, there's significant issues with that. So I'd ask for time, and I'd ask for the lady before me that mentioned, you know, collegial input, input from those vested in this business, because I think many of us would welcome such regulation if it's done objectively. And what we have right now isn't objective. So thank you.
No, thank you for coming.
Happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Yeah, thank you for coming forward. And, you know, that's the whole purpose of this is to get input on this.
No, you will. Good evening, everybody. I'm State Representative Renee Pack. I represent each one of you at the Indiana State House as part of House District 92. My address is 2246 Golden Eye Circle, Indianapolis, Indiana. I do not have a residence in the town of Speedway. But one thing I did want to mention is that I'm super grateful for you coming forth and just opening this whole thing up, because I've had several residents here approach me about short-term rentals and concerns that they're having about the new ordinances. And I have to say I'm all for more inspection. I mean, if you've got these law-abiding citizens just saying, let's get some time together to really take a look at this. And they want what's best, not only for their businesses, they want what's best for this community. Speedway's a wonderful community. I am leaving my card. I can't stay, but I would like for any of you all, because I do represent you and I take it very seriously, to contact me. Maybe we can get together. I do have, just in full transparency, a couple of concerns in a bill draft that was submitted on Friday, and it was just about Airbnbs and how closely they are to a school. There were some concerns like that out there, which could be a safety concern also. And the other thing I want to mention too is I teach in high school at Ben Davis. And those kids I'm talking to you all, y'all are the people, okay? They're 18 years old and they're renting Airbnbs.
Oh yeah, they are.
And they're not doing good things. They're bringing half of Ben Davis is over there on those Airbnbs partying. So there are some very valid concerns. Thank you so much. I gave you my card. I appreciate this hardworking council and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, Renee.
I'm Jane Gauchi, and I live at 5041 West 15th Street. And I have 2 Airbnbs here, as well as we're opening up 2 more. And I'm representing my buyers who are going to close on their brand-new Airbnb here as well. And we drug them here because I have a couple points that haven't been made, and thank you guys for coming tonight. And I think that's the thing. I'm very plugged into this town, and I go to Dawson's a lot. I ought to know about this stuff. And you know, I popped in here last month. And since last month, I have found out quite a few things. There are platforms where we can find out where all the STRs are. There are companies that actually we can sign up for. You guys could do that. So I figured out that there are 67 Airbnbs right now active in Speedway. Whatever, is that a threatening number? I don't think so, not with 3,500 homes. That said, Vince was good enough to meet with me and another Airbnb fellow. And one of the things that we have really worked hard on, and I haven't stopped thinking about it for the last 30 days, is I envision Speedway to be a flagship of a community where Airbnbs are one of its proud features. This is a place where we can stay. I mean, this month I hosted a young family who came to celebrate 85-year-old grandma's birthday. I hosted a mechanic from England who'll be moving to America to join McLaren. I have hosted some amazing people. I even hosted a homeless couple who stole from me, but they never caused problems for anyone. They paid me. As a matter of fact, I wanted to refund them, and had they not stolen, I would have. We are human, and we love our businesses, and they're profitable. There's a need for them. You guys know that. My passion, and I'd always thought of this, but my passion is to get all of us who care about this as positive thinking owners to group together. And not only, right now I feel like you pass this tonight and it's adversarial. I have read the newspapers, I'm plugged in. I'm a well-known realtor in the community. If I didn't know about it, there are a lot of people that don't know about it. Now that everybody knows about it, I do think slowing the train down would be an amazing idea. You guys are going to do what you do. But being an adversarial of ours as opposed to a partner, I just don't think it's going to have the same results. So there are things like a garden walk that I have been really pondering and running by a lot of people, and everybody's in on it. Let our town, we'll put it together, but let us open up our Airbnb so that the neighbors can come in and be a little bit impressed and realize that we're not the enemy, but rather we're their community too. Most of us live here, and if we don't, we care about Speedway. So I would like to say that I think there's a better way for us to lift up this industry that's bringing, I brought 269 stays last year that all spent money on Main Street. The coffee shops are their favorites. So with all due respect, man, I'd love to slow this train down and at least present it as yes. I support this. I think we need a 2-person per bedroom plus 2, Sacramento, California. I've done tons of study in the last 30 days. So my passion totally lies in giving us at least another month to pull together a meeting of owners. We had as much trouble finding each other as you do. And seeing what we can come up with so that at least when you pass it, it isn't presented to the city as a club for them to use against us, but rather we're seen as your partners trying to shed a better light on what I think is an amazing asset to Speedway, especially with the money that's going into these places. So there's that. The other thing that I would just like to at least ask is that as I've sat here just these last 2 months, I I haven't heard one true specific violation. Like, what are your problems? You say 99% of us do it right. We have had issues, and you've truly named it issues. I don't know what the specific problems are. We could police ourselves and help you if we knew, all the community knew that they could call, and God knows I'm not volunteering for this because there's somebody better for it, but if they could call that person when they had a neighbor that they were really struggling with. I mean, some of these things are just frustrations that our community's changing. Sure. Well, now they've got a platform for, you can rent your garage out for storage. Don't store at the storage places, store in my garage. We're gonna have crap all over the place, maybe, I don't know. There'll be a reason, and there'll be one or two people that make it bad. So what are the infractions?
I'll answer the call.
No, I don't know. All I've heard is issues.
No, the loud parties, 2 or 3 people have rented, and there's now 45 people, and it's a loud party. I think it's more like loud noise, loud party. There's been some type of disturbance there.
Occasional gunfire between two rival gangs that one rents and the other one finds out they're
You might
renting.
want to speak to that.
Okay, that's what I want to know. You know, that makes me feel a little bit more like, all right, I'm
And I think
I'm on board anyway.
We did say some of that at the beginning. I mean, we've had parking issues where an Airbnb will have 30 cars, and all of a sudden, they're parked everywhere, including on lawns, and that's not allowed by our ordinance.
Absolutely, it's not allowed for me to do that, probably.
Squatters, people
getting
into the Airbnb and living
No, I just needed to hear some specifics. All I heard was issues, and I thought, if it's only 99% of us. Now, that said, if we could get a group together of Airbnb hosts, masterminding best practices, there are ways for us to eliminate those problems. Sure. I have found out that if I let one of her students from Ben Davis, who has no reviews and is local, I will deny their stay, even though I have Instabook. Oh, no, hell no, they're not coming in. You got to have a review, and you can't be local, because that combination is lethal, and I know it, and that's when I have had to break them up.
Yeah.
So I don't let them get that way, because I live around the corner. I get that an out-of-state person can't, and then that falls on your shoulders. But if we could educate ourselves, help ourselves, elevate ourselves by introducing each other, having a few masterminds, I think we could help you and the town's perception and help ourselves by figuring out what the best practices is, because we're always going to get new people in, and the learning curve's a little bit steep in it. So
All right.
that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much for stepping forward. Would anybody else would like to speak tonight to the council?
Good evening, Michelle Leidy, 4853 McCray Street. I'm third generation to own my property, so I thank you for this ordinance. It's a long time coming. I know that you all have been working on it for a very long time, because I came to Grant, I think last year, and talked about this, and I think Vince had just walked in his office and he accused me of having a wire in the room, and I swear I didn't. Not that time. I just had a couple things. You're going to know who the short-term rentals are, because the neighbors are going to tell you. And you can find out who owns them from the Marion County property cards. It's an easy, quick look up online. I've heard the word business a lot. I'm here to talk about community and my neighbors. I spoke to a lady who has a short-term rental on either side of her. She dreads going home from work on a Friday to enjoy a long weekend, because she has no idea what she's in for on either side of her for the weekend. It's quality of life for the folks, and it's quality of life for our residents in this community. We are a community, and if they're running a business, I think they should have a business license. They've all said they're running a business, and so I think that could be an option that's something that we could look into. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. Anybody else like to speak?
Not really, but Diane Massario, 6202 Myrtlewood Drive. You know, I was here last month when we did this. I was one that had come to the council and talked about this myself. I do not have a Airbnb or a rental, a short-term rental. I have been in this community my entire life. I will thank you, the council, for what you have done, for putting, again, I said this last month when I was here, guardrails around something I think that we need to have. And does it maybe need to be tweaked? Maybe. Not my decision. I'm not an attorney. I know that in 2018, the legislature put into place House Bill 1035, which gave the municipalities the guardrails or the flexibility to do what you're doing. I too have stories from those who have been here and live in a home and have had things that have happened around them. I also believe that all these people back here are good actors. They're not the bad actors. And, you know, one of the women had said, you know, about bringing business to Speedway. That's great. I'm all about it. We're all about it. This is a community, and community being the key word. And I want my children and my grandchildren and my family, and you want your children and your grandchildren and your family to be safe. And it is a progression of life. This is a new, reasonably new space. I'm old. I did my first VRBO this year at 65 years old. So this is new to me. I'm not real good at it, getting on a computer and figuring it all out. And I know that a lot of other people have been able to do this and meander and navigate the waters to figure it out. And I get that we got the crown jewel sitting over there. And I get that we've been the little darlings, and you know, everybody loves looking at our community as Speedway because we are a community. We can take care of each other. We've got a great police department, we got a great fire department, we got the best schools in the system, and we have the fact that nobody wants to give you guys credit. I will give you credit, because when I think about the time and the hours that you put into this town, Lord have mercy, it's a lot. And we can all come and complain, but nobody wants to come and thank you for what we've done, for the vision you've had, and for the community that we get to live in and we get to call home. I gotta tell you, it's really awesome. I'm gonna go out in a pine box. I am so very grateful to those of you who are now serving and to those who have come before you. And I don't want this to be, for all of you back there, this is not an attack on an Airbnb or a VRBO or anything else. This is a community, and we are trying to regulate and get rid of our bad actors. And might that be hard? Yes. Life is not easy. There are road bumps in life, and as long as we continue to work together in the best way that we can, this community will stand as it always has. If something were to happen to me or my family, I know that right now, this community would wrap itself around us. And let me tell you, you can't find it anywhere else. So again, I will applaud you. And is this the be-all, end-all? Maybe not so much. Might it need to be tweaked? Maybe. But this is a start, and there has to be a start. And for all those who've come tonight who are good actors, we applaud you and we thank you. And we want you to help us find the bad actors. And to you, our council, thank you.
Okay. Would anybody else like to speak to the council tonight? Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
All right. I'm Heather Dietzer, 1739 DeSoto Lane, Speedway, Indiana, 46224. So I just want to let everyone here know that no one's here to get rid of short-term rentals, that we're just trying to create a program with rules that will keep Speedway safe and keep the riffraff out, or at least try to. We've had some rules, and we need to have rules and policies in place to keep our town and our neighbors safe. sometimes when there is a new thing, it takes time to work the kinks out. But the town is not trying to wipe out short-term rentals as a whole. We are Speedway, and we're a popular town with visitors quite a few times of the year, but we need to find something that works out for both sides of this policy. We need to act together to catch the bad renters, and the short-term rental owners. We want to have our good short-term rental owners have good names. And as we catch these people and work together, report them and get them taken out, that just means the good people who are renting, or the STRs, that they will have more customers. So you think they would help, get these people out so they can have more people that are choosing their house. So I think one of the best ways to work problems out in new policies is to run it in real time. I don't think the reputable STR owners will have problems, but I think it's the bad ones that are going to get weeded out, who aren't paying attention and who don't care what happens. So any and all policies, no matter what, are always subject to change and be adjusted as needed. I was born and raised in Speedway, and my kids are also being raised in Speedway, and they're already arguing about who gets to buy our house when I move into my mom's house, which is also in Speedway. We have amazing schools and relationships that go back years and years, and I strongly feel that our town needs to have more families move in, not create more rentals for passers through. We have one hotel that's already fantastic, another one being built, and fingers crossed, dare I say, one maybe on 16th and Main. Speedway is a family town, and I really don't want to turn it into someplace that encourages more and more short-term rentals, because then we will lose that family town and relationships that we have. One of my concerns, my biggest concern, is the STRs being by schools. I'm a mom, I have 4 kids, and sometimes I have one at every single one of the schools. And my concern is actually brought to my attention when one opened up across from Newbie, literally right across from Newbie. And it scares me to think that somebody could rent that place out who has a bad thought and just watch those kids come out, because we walk. Our kids walk. They come straight out that front door and they go in different directions to the neighborhood. And it scares me to think someone could just sit there with a gun and just take him out. That's my biggest fear. And some people are like, well, that hasn't happened. It's not a concern we have. Well, that's not how it works. Like, you have to be proactive. You have to protect it so it doesn't happen. So my biggest concern is having some kind of parameter that they're not right in front of those schools, because all of our schools are in a neighborhood. We're not surrounded by businesses or something that could kind of block or make a buffer. It's literally the houses right next to the schools. So that's what I'm asking for, is something to protect our kids from someone who has bad intentions. And I don't want something bad to happen for us to react. So, hold on, I lost my screen. Okay. Oh, that's it. I also want to thank you guys for all you do to keep Speedway great and the time and effort that you put into it. And that includes sitting here and listening to all of us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Mary Lou Gordon. I have an office at 5000 Crawfordsville Road. I've had it there since 1979.
Yeah.
I've been a real estate agent in Speedway for 44 years, and I probably have sold more homes in Speedway than any other agent. I have an Airbnb. It was a rental, and it was a headache to me. Every time somebody'd move out, I'm getting a dumpster to haul out their trash, repaint, redo. My daughter said about 4 years ago, why don't you open an Airbnb? Well, what's an Airbnb? I didn't even know what she was talking about. So I opened it, and I had a pad. I'm very strict with who comes in. I don't have any instant booking. I check on people with their reviews, as Jane said, and with what other hosts have said about them. I'm a super host. I've had people from China come to get a surrogate baby. I've had people from California come for family. I've got a couple coming for 3 days at Christmas. I agree with what you're doing. I just think we need more time. I didn't even know anything about this until about 2 weeks ago. And that's why I'm here tonight, to learn about it. But if there's 67 Airbnbs out of 3,500 homes, people are coming to Speedway for family, for events. We're the good guys. There probably are some that are. I had one that did a birthday party. They had about 30 people in the backyard, but mine is across the street from my office, so I can see and check on them, and I think it's a good benefit to Speedway to have them, to bring in these people to spend their money, and they're doing that. A lot of golfers, FAA, you're talking to the good people here tonight, but I do think we need more time, and I'm asking for more time. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for coming up, stepping up. And I've seen the 2 Ferraris that were parked in your rental.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive.
Those are super rentals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anybody else that would like to speak to the council tonight? Seeing none, wanting to approach, basically I'm going to call.
Some discussion.
Yeah, go ahead and.
Yeah, I'd like to
open
make a couple of comments. We did have a motion, right? I think I made the motion.
Yes,
and,
it's been a while.
Been a little while here. I've been renting short-term rentals since before I was an adult. I went to Florida and at 17 years old and rented a short-term rental with some other 17-year-olds, and we didn't cause any problems. We didn't drink, we didn't smoke, we didn't have problems. We just went to the beach every day, looked at girls, had a good time. Just went and got a tan and came home. I've been going back to that area of Florida ever since, staying at a timeshare, in the last 4 or 5 years. It's become more of a true short-term rental that has various alphabet letters. And I suppose there's others that we don't know of beyond VRBO and Airbnb. Those are the ones that, the Kleenexes, if you will, versus tissue. And I personally have loved them. I've had a couple of bad experiences where they weren't as clean, or they weren't this, or they weren't that, but I've really enjoyed it. And those are very much destination places that I tend to do it, although a couple times in business, when I was going to Nashville, I found, on business, I found something that was better, because I had 2 other people with me in my business and we rented a home. It's a 3-bedroom, and it worked for us, 3 men. I have confidence. I truly appreciate the comments this evening, and they're not going unheard. They're not going action, regardless of how this council votes this evening, or maybe doesn't vote, depending on what we do next. I have 100% confidence that we will act here the same as we have in my number of years on the council and redevelopment commission and park board for years before that, where we engage the public. The public will be involved going forward, the same as we have in our long-term rental program, as well as commercial property rental programs. The long-term rental, the state legislature, we really had and I apologize that I'm taking a little bit of time here, but I think it's important to get it out there. This town has led the way. I think Diane you were involved going back before I was on council in helping find other states that had some of the same challenges we did with long-term rentals that were becoming a real challenge to those communities. And language was put in place, and we acted on that language where we actually did inspections we created a landlord program, a permitting program, and we actually did inspections of primarily apartment complexes to assure that they were safe places for people to be with adults and children and so on. And we actually charged a fee for that, and we inspected those apartments. I don't remember the exact timeline, but it was, I want to say, every 18 to 24 months. And we did that because we felt it was really important to protect the people that live there, the people that stayed there, and the people around them. Because you can have that one unit, but everything else around it's fine, but that one unit could make life tough on those around them. And we did quite well with that. The challenge was the state legislature came back later and cut out the opportunity for us to do that inspection. We could still have certain fees and certain licenses and some other things, but we couldn't really control and manage, I guess is a better word, those properties to make sure that they were places that were good for children and adults to be. And we've struggled ever since then in many ways with some of those rental properties. And I look at this and see that it's not perfect. I can promise you, just like the other things that we've done, various permits and programs that we've said and we've put in place, that we will find something that's not quite right with it, and we will fix that. We will take input from the public, and we will make changes accordingly, whether we approve this tonight or another time. And for me, now's the time to move forward so that we can actually make our town a continued place for people to want to be and protect those people that are visiting the same as we do the people that live here. So for me, I'm in favor of this. I'm also in favor of a lot of the suggestions and a lot of the recommendations that came out this evening.
Thank you, Gary. Is there any other discussion?
I've been on here 11 years, probably 11 years too long, but this is one of the most engaged groups that have come before us, and that's gone places with me tonight.
Yeah.
And the fact that we appointed boards and commissions to begin the meeting that you've all had to sit through to get to this, thank you. The fact that we have those boards and commissions to listen to, and I'm in favor of waiting to get this done right. I think if we push it forward, wasn't expecting that, thank you. To me, I think if we push it forward and then have to adjust it, that doesn't make sense when we have people that are, the fact that you've come forward and talked to us tonight, that means a lot to me because we sit in these chambers, I can't tell you how many times over the last several years, and there's nobody here. And the fact that you brought some very good points, that this is nothing that I feel as a counselor that we have to rush. I think we owe it to them that we get it right the first time, that we pass it. I know this goes by other towns, but if we can be the town that gets it right with a group of engaged hosts or super hosts, whatever you call you guys, I think this is the time to do it. To me, I think this needs to be tabled, and we need to get a group together and work on this for the next, I don't know, I know it's holidays, this is not going to be a good time, but the next month or whatever, maybe before our next meeting, to sit down, have a conversation, and it may be that we may come back exactly the way that we have it now, because that's the way that it comes out. But I think it's important that we have that conversation to listen to you and others that we can reach out to and have that conversation, and that's where I'm at tonight. So.
And I would have to agree with you in regards to that, David. The one thing that I know is the town of Speedway is that our community is a strong community, and we do have concerns that we have to listen to, not only the owners in our community, but also businesses or people who have businesses within our community, such as these Airbnbs. And it's the ones who are the bad apples that ultimately make the neighbors who dislike these Airbnbs all that more. And so we have to make sure that we're doing this the right way, but also protect our community. And it is the ones that you guys don't hear, the ones that we are hearing about, and vice versa. So we need to listen to everyone and understand what this is all about. It's a new era. This is how things are moving now, but our real estate obviously is very strong. We have a destination place to come or even to move to as our primary residence, whatever it might be. But we have created a town here and a community, and we want to keep it that way and keep it strong.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Ditto.
So, Mr. Attorney,
Yes, sir.
do I need to make a motion to table, or can we ask for a concurrence to table?
I would make a motion to table.
Okay. Mr. President, I make a motion, we table this ordinance for further review.
I'll second that.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. So at this point in time, we'll table this motion, and I want to challenge everybody in the audience and those members at home, please feel free to, turn in your comments, basically let the council know, and let, that we can get a group of people, concerned people together, concerned businesses, also concerned citizens, and let's do this right, this might be the right thing to do, but, everything I think needs improved. And, as you've seen this town go through change in the last 15 years, it is continually changing.
Yep.
And changing for the better. Yep. And we are investing in this community because we live here, we have businesses here, and, we operate as a community. And we've got great schools, we've got great families, and we have very good businesses that take care of us. And I thank you guys for coming out tonight.
Make a recommendation. If several of you spoke this evening, but some did not. If you would, I'm going to volunteer Grant. He has an email address that's on our website. It won't be thousands. Maybe because thousands watch, right, David?
Yeah, absolutely every month.
But if you could send your contact information and some comments to Grant, then we'll have an opportunity to collect those, so that when we go forward, we'll have the potential to reach out to you to let you know some of the things that are going on.
At this time, I'm going to continue on with our meeting. If those of you want to leave, that you felt you're here for that, you're more than welcome. You don't have to sit through this. It's a challenging meeting tonight. Yeah. No. Okay. Go ahead and, I forgot where we even left off. On item 12, it's the approval of an agreement between the town of Speedway and Speedway, Indiana, Homes in Motion LLC, Octavio Fernando Hernandez. Grant.
Thank you. So this is an agreement for a couple of properties. They're listed in the resolution that have sewer. One of them has a sewer line that goes over the other party's property and connects into the sewer. So this agreement basically makes that clear that in the future, if it needs maintenance, upkeep, inspection, that this agreement says that will be allowed. It's a difficult situation. We don't really condone this, but this has happened from time to time over the years. These properties are both located outside of the town limits. So we would recommend approval. I know Bob has reviewed this. In the past, we've done agreements like this, but it's been a while. John Merritt said he's done a couple of these over the years.
Sounds good.
But it solves future problems for someone maintaining their sewer.
Okay.
And it has been amended. There were a couple, Archdiocese was struck and Hernandez is put in. So just adopt it as amended and we'll make those changes.
I'll go and make a motion,
Okay.
but I'll make the motion with the amendment so it's on the record. I'll make a motion, we approve the agreement between the town of Speedway, Indiana Homes in Motion LLC, and Octavio Fernando Hernandez within number 5 on page 2,
Okay.
that Archdiocese be changed to Hernandez to show they are the responsible for the sole cost and expense.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of approval of the agreement between the Town of Speedway and Indiana in Motion LLC signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Vince, if I might, I have
Yeah,
to go
go
pick up my daughter who's finishing color guard, so I'm going to have to excuse myself.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
We'll continue.
Press on.
Press on. Number 13, we got a resolution 2022-18, a resolution memorializing formal written committees for the insurance of alcohol permits to Daredevil Brewing Company. And that's Todd, are you?
Sure. Thanks. Basically, what they're doing is they've been operating under a microbrewery permit since their inception, and they want to now serve, under that permit, they can only serve what they brew.
Okay.
But they want to have other beers, wine, liquor, so the standard three-way permit is what they're pursuing. So this would be the fourth one if we get it issued out of the 9 that are available in the motorsport district.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion so we can discuss this. If you stay put, if you would, please. Make a motion that we approve 2022-18 as presented.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Is it, now we can continue on the discussion.
So you say this would be number 4 of 9. Without getting into the detail and naming names to protect those companies that have an interest, there are a few folks that are targeting coming to Main Street. We've had conversations with. Are we sure that we're protecting ourselves in terms of, because obviously any business can apply to the county, to the state and to the county for a license. And these are great. This is a great commercial business in our town, so I'm not wanting to take away from that. I just want to make it clear that we're making sure we have ample supply of our own permits the state allowed us for several years ago, so that other businesses that have plans to be here or building as we speak in some cases have that option. So you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but
Well, we'll still have 5 permits. I mean, I'm not aware of more than 5 are out there.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other discussion?
I think Daredevil's been a great addition to Main Street. They're involved within the community. They're always willing to help out with other various events, and they help out on Main Street. And I think it's a positive for them that they want to expand their business, which this is part of, I'm assuming. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Todd. There's no other discussion. I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote on Resolution 2022-18. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda is approval of claims. Jacob, can you take us through that?
Yes, sir. Claims presented to you for your review represent those made from November 12th, 2022 through December 9th, 2022. I'd be happy to take any questions or would appreciate your approval.
Mr. President, I make a motion we approve the claims as presented by our clerk treasurer.
Second.
Yeah, I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion on the claims? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of the claims as submitted by our town clerk treasurer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Utility adjustments?
Utility adjustments represent the same time period, a few late fee adjustments and a corrected misread, and would appreciate your approval on those as well.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the adjustments as presented to us by Clerk Treasurer.
Second.
Can I get a motion and a second? Any other discussion on utility adjustments? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of the utility adjustments as submitted by our town clerk treasurer, Jacob Bladesdell. Signify by saying aye.
Aye. It's been a long night.
Finish your sentence.
Got it. You're just holding it for a while.
We're here buffering.
We're here all night. Yeah, exactly. Okay, next up is a report from the police department. Chuck, Chief Upchurch. Thanks
Good
for
evening, Council.
helping out
I'll be
on the
brief.
discussion. Do you have slides tonight?
Yeah, this coming Monday, December 19th at 9:30 a.m., we're going to be swearing in two of our newest police officers, Charlie Azell, who is one of our current police officers' son. He'll be joining us from Indiana University Police Department. And Renaud Camilla will be joining us from the Cumberland Police Department. Both of those candidates are current graduates of the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. So that's a big plus for us. We won't be losing them for 16 weeks. They'll immediately go through their FDO training and proceed. So we also have 4 particularly good candidates for our reserve division at this point. All those candidates have previous experience. We're currently completing their background investigations, and we hope to begin their training in early of 2023. So, and one last, with the holiday season upon us, we'd like to remind everyone to please not leave their purses or packages visible within your vehicles while shopping. Also, with many packages being delivered to homes, please keep an eye out for your neighbors and call the police department if you see any suspicious activity in your neighborhoods. So that's all I have, if you don't have any
I got one thing for you. Okay. It's just going to be brief.
Yes.
I just want to bring it to your attention that I know that several homes or cars were broken into on Auburn, specifically one of mine was.
Yes.
And we had it, locked. So I know that we were chasing the bad guys out, and we have to continue doing that.
Found the car. So
Yeah.
it was a stolen vehicle out of Minneapolis, and the car caught fire, and the suspect in the car was gone when we got there. So we know that he got into a couple of cars in the area. So, but yeah. I think the car caught on fire just because
But I
the
think
way he was driving.
this has occurred after that.
Yes, that occurred after the fact. So, yes. So, but yes, please, and that was good neighbors calling in and letting us know what they saw, and we responded up there. So.
Well, thanks for all the help. Are you seeing the increase in your reserves due to the changes from?
Yes, we, at this point, and we hope to, our goal was to start off with 5. At this point, we have 4. We'll continue to take applications and seek out good candidates. Just like our merit officers, we're pretty picky about who we take and who we get through our process. We've been through 4 processes this year, and this is going to put us up to full staff, all the way up till March when we lose another to retirement. So,
Chuck, I think this council would appreciate your input in relationship to where we go on the VRBO and Airbnb.
and I think I think we're on the right track, and I believe that what the council's doing is proper. And we do have that element and I don't believe it's going to be these folks here.
Yeah.
I think they are all very concerned, and they're good neighbors. And it's like anything else with the police department. We don't go and just immediately start handing out tickets.
Right.
If we go to loud music or loud noise, if the officer doesn't see that, it's determined unfounded. So, and I think that helps with their concern with people, neighbors calling in that may just want the short-term rentals to go away. The officer's going to verify whether the situation is as it's being reported or not.
Legit or not.
So,
yeah.
yes. And we did have the instance, I believe it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, where there was a VRBO just here on 20th Street before the police department moved here. And there were probably 20, 25 gunshots fired during that party. And I think those neighbors here on 20th Street probably remember that.
Yep.
So I think there's legitimate concern, and I think the council's addressing it properly. So
Thank you.
thank you.
You're going, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, is it okay if we allow the chief to leave when he's done with his?
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Sorry, guys.
We can dismiss them as they're done.
Have a good evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cheryl.
Yes, Cheryl.
I have a huge
No PowerPoints this time, no.
Good evening. How about those Christmas lights? Right? That's
I know.
fun. Yeah, finally. Okay, I will keep it short, promise. I'm just going to run through some dates of reminders. There's a toy drive for Riley Children's Hospital being done through Founders Grounds. That runs through this Friday the 16th. The holiday food drive for the town is open till December 16th. You could still drop off your items here at the Speedway Municipal Center. Arts Pop-Up Show for the holidays, December 16th and 17th at Foyt Wine Vault. Just 2 more showings of that. Let's see. Due to the Christmas holidays, the Speedway Municipal Center administrative offices will be closed Friday, December 23rd and Monday, December 26th. Some items related to the Streets Department. Let's see, yard waste service was provided for the last time last week. That will resume again in April 2023. Heavy trash days, as a reminder, are this week, the 13th, 14th, and 15th. With Christmas falling on a weekend this year, trash service will be provided as normal based on your schedule. Christmas tree pickup service will be held the first 2 weeks of January on your regular scheduled trash days. So that's the week of January 3rd and January 10th. Finally, the new town website will be live the first week of January. Was going to show a preview tonight, but considering the full agenda, I think we're going to show it next month if there's time. And then save the date. The State of the Town is calendared for February 13th. Details will be coming. That's it.
Fantastic.
Questions?
Go home.
All right, go home.
Bob, would you like to step up? You're looking a little piggy there, so.
I'm okay. Yeah, I will be short. I just wanted to let you know that we have completed our pre-planning of both the Hampton Inn. Our guys have walked through. We've done radio tests with all that concrete and all that. It's something new we're doing. We've also done the pre-plan and the walkthrough for 1300, which means each shift goes with either Chris and I or Johnny Russell, our inspector. We have 2 laterals that we interviewed last week that are on our lateral list, with Darren Wood's last shift being February 3rd. And we are losing one of our 7-year firefighters to IFD's recruit class at the end of February. So we'll be bringing 2 guys from that lateral list. We start a traditional list. Here, about the first of the year, we'll start testing and doing some things for a longer-term full-time list. So other than that, I want to keep it brief.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Todd?
Thank you. Just a quick overview of the last month or so. Been real busy with the 5242 Crawfordsville Road building, the Heaven Sent building. We did get a response that we think is going to work out well there. Hopefully we'll get that approved at the SRC meeting next Monday. We've also made some progress on the Gateway signage program. Entered into an agreement with REA for developing construction documents in that process going forward. Had a good meeting with the Pierce Kirby, who runs the Indianapolis Brownfields program. Brownfields tend to pop up, when you're doing redevelopment. So seeing if, we can get him as an ally and possibly, help us with funding if something comes up down the road. And then finally,
Last week, spent a couple days at the Performance Racing Industry Trade Show. They had, I think, 70,000 attendees and over 1,100 exhibitors. So I got my steps in. Did some good networking. I used to go to that show when I worked both for the state and in Indianapolis. The state did not have a booth there this year. Also, I bumped into Jeremy Byrne from the Motorsport Industry Association. They're UK-based motorsport affinity group. They did not have a booth. So we sort of talked informally with the state and MIA and maybe the Indy Chamber on getting together and having a booth so we can do some more organized business development activity next year. So it was a good show, and it's back at the numbers that it was pre-COVID. So that was good to hear.
Great. Any questions for Todd?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Todd.
Todd.
Thank you. Tammy? We saved the best for last. And
I'm not even bringing my paper up, just to keep it short. There's nothing that can't wait till next month, other than wishing everybody happy holidays. And just a real quick overall thank you to all the people that helped light the night be the big success that it was. And to announce that I'm going to be off starting tomorrow afternoon until January 3rd. My son Jeffrey and his high school sweetheart, Josie, are tying the knot this Saturday, both 2018 Speedway High School graduates. So wishing them well and looking forward to wedding week. So
Great.
and that's all I have.
Congratulations.
I think, it was very obvious the work that you did to make that a successful event. I mean, the snowball pit alone, made kids in Speedway act like kids. I mean, and the adults that they were throwing the snowballs at too. And I think it was fabulous. I think when the line for Santa Claus is like a half a block long,
Yeah.
it just, tells you that, I think these family-friendly events like this bring community out. And it was very obvious that when Santa arrived on a fire truck, and we had Bob handling that one along with the Santa, and I think it was a fabulous night. And along with the Lions that help,
Yes.
serve food and pick up everything. And I appreciate you went above and beyond the call of duty. I mean, it had to take you days to plan all that and organize everything to make that such a success. And I'd be amiss if I didn't thank Scott Jasek.
Definitely.
I thought that with him allowing us to use that facility goes a long way to creating community in this town.
Right.
And you can't hold that event
Over and over.
yeah, and just people look forward to those things, and their kids look forward to it, and those are the things that build community. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. It was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Take a couple weeks off, Tammy.
Yeah. Tammy, where's Jeffrey stationed now?
He's stationed in Hawaii, Honolulu, at
I thought so.
Hickam Air
That's
Force
great.
Base.
But you're not having the wedding there, unfortunately.
No, having it here, and then they will fly out after Christmas. They get to stay through Christmas. So.
That's great. Well, enjoy your time.
Yeah, thank you. Merry Christmas.
Last but not least.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll be brief as well.
Okay.
At the wastewater treatment plant, it's business as usual. The plant treated 88 million gallons wastewater last month. The South Grit Collector is now been rebuilt and back online. And I'm proud to report to you that Joseph Knight recently passed his IDM Class 3 operators certification exam. So we have a Class 3 operator on staff now. That's great. At water, business as usual. They produced 62 million gallons of water in November. Street completed the yard waste season last week. 855 tons of yard waste was sent to Green Cycle in 2022. And they are busy street sweeping and patching potholes. That's all I have.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Brad.
And our town manager is not here. He can
tell us next meeting.
He can tell us next meeting, well, double duty.
Yeah.
Well, what he forgot on this one. Go ahead and report from counselors. Eileen Fisher.
Just keeping it short.
Keep it short, okay.
Happy holidays,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Happy and safe holidays.
Counselor David Lindsay.
Happy holidays as well, and I'd like to thank Bill P. and Brian Pierce, one tonight for staying with us for as long as they have. But they called and asked if I could help with cameras to run for them for the basketball games at the high school. They do a fantastic job with those broadcasts, and it was an honor to be a small little part of that. So I'd encourage you, if you haven't watched the games or you want to see some good sporting events, watch the replay. They do a fantastic job with that.
Good close-ups, too.
Oh, of course. Well, only by one certain camera. But Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Absolutely. Counselor Gary Pettigill.
Happy holidays, that's it. Be safe.
Vice President Counselor Gary Riggs.
Merry Christmas to everyone, and thank you for the town commission and board volunteers that came out last week for a little event that we had for them, and to the Lions that we talked about earlier, serving last week for Light the Night. They did a big part of that yeoman's work, so thank you.
Okay, well, my closing remarks will be brief too. I just think it's important that, especially when we looked at all the boards and commission, the amount of citizens out there participating in local government really is key to making this town work and stay active, and also to change with the times. And I really appreciate it. Especially, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I wore my Christmas tie tonight, so I get a little Christmas spirit at that point. But thank you. I know this has been an extremely long meeting. I don't know if it's a record or not.
It's close.
It's close, but thank you again. And stay tuned. There's more. Thank you. And I'll adjourn at 9:28.